name is Allison. I'm the Programs Outreach and Youth Services Manager here at Monterey County Free Libraries. Thank you for joining me today for Maker Monday. Today we are going to make a piece of art. We are going to do some paper weaving. For this project, you are going to need the following supplies. Of course, you are going to need some paper. You are also going to need a ruler, a pencil or a pen, a glue stick, a pair of scissors, and then you'll need some materials to decorate the frame of your woven masterpiece. I'm going to use the black paper for my frame, so I brought some glitter pens to use for decoration, but you could use whatever you have at home. I also brought some scissors that have different designed edges so that the paper has a cool edge to it. But if you don't have these at home, you can always use your regular pair of scissors to make a cool border. To get started, you are going to take whichever color you would like to use as your base. So in my example here, I used red as my base, and we need to get it so that it has these slats in it so that we can weave through. So I'm going to use a different color piece of paper to show you how to do that. I'm going to use yellow. You're going to take whichever color paper you want and you are going to fold it in half, hamburger style. Just fold it right in half like that. And then you're going to take your ruler, or you can just eyeball it if you like, and you will line up your ruler at the bottom along the fold to make marks for how far apart you want your slits to be. I did mine an inch apart, so you would just go and make a little tick at each inch line. That's kind of hard to say, at each inch line. And then you would cut along those lines. So I'll get my one that's already cut to show you. So when it was folded, I made a little mark at each of those spots. And then what you're going to do, you can use your ruler if you want to draw the line all the way up to the edge, but you are going to take your scissors and cut, but not all the way up to the top. If you cut all the way up to the top, this is going to come off and you're just going to have strips of paper. So you want to cut it so that you're about an inch, half an inch away from the top. It's up to you how far away you want to be from the top. But what you want to make sure, and I didn't really do a very good job of this in my example, is that the top of your slits all line up so that your weave is even. Once you've made your cuts and you open it up, it will look like this. Once you get it like this, we are going to get to our next step, which is cutting our strips. So I used the green, yellow, and orange for my strips. I took the piece of paper and I made marks along the inch line at the bottom here, and then I drew a line all the way up, and then I cut so that we had a full strip. So my strips are an inch wide. They basically are the length of the ruler. Once you have your strips, we're ready to go into our weave. I cut 9 strips to start with. I'm going to reposition my camera and then we will get into our weaving. To begin our weaving, we are going to take our base, and you won't be able to see my whole mat just because of the angle of my camera, but you're going to take your base, lay it down, and then start with whichever color you like. You can do a pattern, you could do all the same color for the weave, whatever you want to do. I'm going to start with this orange strip. Then at the bottom here, where you're going to start your weave, you can choose whether you would like to stick your strip under, like that, or whether you want your strip to go over the first slat and under the second. What you're going to want to do, though, is to alternate the strips because that will create a nice tight weave. So we'll stick with this one going over this first strip and under the second slat. And we'll continue that weave pattern all the way through. Till we get to the top. And you'll see that there is a little bit sticking out at the top and at the bottom. That's fine. We'll deal with that a little bit later at the end. You can also see here that my slits didn't line up correctly, especially up here at the top, which just means that there's a point at which I can't scoot the paper over as far. That's totally fine. If you were using your ruler, you'd be a little bit more accurate than I was, but I was just eyeballing it. So for our second strip, we're going to do the opposite of what we did for this strip. So we're going to go under this first slat and over the second, and then under, over, under, over, under, over, and then under to finish out. And you'll see when you scooch those together, they press against each other to create a nice tight weave, which is what we want. It will help hold everything in. So for our third strip, which I'm using green, again, we want to keep up this pattern. So this one was over, this was under, so this is going to be over again. So we go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, and then end with over. So you can see the pattern continuing up here. And again, push them close together, we get a nice tight weave. And then I'm going to keep my pattern going. Once you have your entire mat woven, we need to take care of these edges here. You are just simply going to take your glue stick and put a little bit of glue here on the end like that. And then you'll just fold it over and press down to keep it folded. So you'll want to do that with all the edges that you have so that you have a nice square, and then we will move on to creating our frame. To make our frame, you are going to cut some more strips of paper. So you'll take your ruler down at the bottom on the shorter side, and you might want to do maybe 1.5 inch strips. You'll need 2 of the long ones and 2 shorter ones. So I have my 2 long strips here. Get my mat back in. We're going to take the strip and you'll lay it so that your mat's about halfway in, and then you will fold it over like this. And you could do 2-inch strips, 3-inch strips, however long you want your border to be. And then you will take your glue stick and you'll just get a bunch of glue in this black strip. You'll just lay your mat back inside that fold and fold it back over and press down to get that glue to stick. And as you can see, there are some parts on mine where you can see my folds, but on both sides actually. So what you can do is you can go back in with your scissors now that you have this mat here, and you can cut off this little bit of extra. Another thing that you can do with this project is if you were to get very creative and use a shape as your base mat. So let's say in the theme of fall, you cut out a leaf, maybe a pumpkin, and then you cut your slats through that, you would be weaving through that shape, and that would look really cool as well. So now that I have that, we can use the rest of this black piece of paper here, and we'll just cut this in half to make the borders for our shorter side. You'll see that there is a lot sticking out, so we'll want to trim that down. And I'm going to try to get it to cover as much of this red here on the side as possible. Then with this extra bit up here, just take your scissors and cut it off. Easy peasy. So now I have my mat. Move my camera a little bit so that you could see the whole thing. I have the mat there with the border, and now it's time to decorate. So you can take whatever materials you brought. You can decorate the inside of your mat, no problem. You can decorate the border. So you would just take, I brought my glitter pens, and then you could just do a little design like that, and you could just have fun decorating. I realized that I totally forgot to use these to cut my border, so you could do it now if you wanted. I tried on a corner and it's a little too thick to go through with those scissors, but you could try with a regular pair of scissors. So let's see if I can see. That was where I tried and it was just a little too thick. But yeah, if you use your regular scissors here, you can get a nice wave. So now I've got this kind of border. Whatever you want to do, now is the time for you to decorate. So I hope you have fun doing this craft, doing some weaving, maybe trying some other shapes, and decorating your borders. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.